I'm joined by University of Central Oklahoma co-offensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, and wide receiver coach James Curlee. Coach, thank you for taking time this afternoon to talk to me. Could you start by telling the viewers and listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name's James Curlee, 27 years old. I grew up in Round Rock, Texas, just outside of Austin. Played at Round Rock High School, then went on to play at Hastings College, where I actually got my first start in coaching as a student coach right after I finished up, and then went on to ACU, where I started as the assistant wide receivers coach and was moved to the tight ends coach for 3 years and had the wide receivers there for one more year. And now I'm here at UCO, ready to go.
Now, during your time at Hastings College, you would have what we described as a storied career. I think you're second all-time in catches, fourth in yards. You were multiple-time team captain, multiple-time all-conference. So, what if you were to describe your playing career, like your play style, what would you describe it as?
Oh gosh, I think the best way to put in words my time at Hastings College was it was just a great experience. I was blessed to have great coaches, which made me better than what I actually was. And, I had great teammates that also made me a better person and a better teammate and player. And so, whenever I look at my career at Hastings, I was very fortunate whenever I chose to go to Hastings, I went to a place that I knew that I had the opportunity to play. And, whenever that opportunity presented itself, I was able to do something with it. That kind of sums up my time at Hastings. And I tried to be a good football player and win accolades my time there, which is great.
Now you also had a 99-yard touchdown catch. So, like, how did that? What was that play?
We had a post called. Sure enough, defense blew the coverage. I was able to take it to the house. What a lot of people don't tell you is I got caught at the one and fell into the end zone. So, no, I was, it was a really cool experience, setting that record there at Hastings and, a record that can't be beat unless they start to change the field on us. But, no, it was a good deal, man. It was a lot of fun. And, everything kind of played out well. O-line had great blocking up front, quarterback threw a great football, and then I was just barely fast enough to score.
Okay, so your playing career ends and then you go into coaching. So what led you into coaching?
One thing that I thought always kind of drew me to coaching was even through high school, I was doing peer and mentoring training where we were actually in the middle school and working with kids. And whenever I got into college, I went into business administration to start, and I hated it. And so, I got back into what I loved, which was mentoring individuals. And so I got my teacher's certificate and was a master's or major in education. And I just loved working with kids and realized how much I loved the game of football and my experience at Hastings. And that just kind of drew me into wanting to go the college route for coaching.
And what was that transition like for you going from a player to now a coach?
I think growing up, my grandfather was a coach. My dad always coached me. And so, and I was blessed to have great coaches through high school and college. So I had great examples of what it meant to be a coach and what that looked like. And so whenever I was done playing, my body told me I was ready to be done. And so I was ready to make that transition. And I think, one thing that I got from playing that helped in coaching was work ethic. There's no cheating the system. You have to work hard if you want to be a great player, and you have to work hard if you want to be a great coach. And so that carried over to a lot. I think more of the true mentorship and teaching of the game obviously was the biggest transition from being a player, where whenever you're a player, you have friends that you love on the team and you can have, conversations with. And as a coach, it's business, your life depends on these kids. And so I think that transition from understanding from friendship to coach was probably the biggest change for me from that standpoint.
So what would you say was the biggest challenge for you when you first got into coaching?
Yeah. Well, Hastings, it was funny. So a lot of my friends were actually still on the team when I first got into coaching. So going from being friends with them to then actually having to coach them was probably the biggest thing. But the amount of knowledge, how much knowledge as a player that I have versus how much I've seen coaches have, that was probably the biggest challenge. Is I found out really quick that I really didn't know a whole lot. I knew stuff that I had been taught from, wide receiver play, pass game, but whenever you started talking about run game, that's something I never really had to worry about. And just so the amount of knowledge that I needed to gain to help myself get to the point of where I needed to be a good football coach.
And how long do you feel like it took you to get to that point where you felt like you became a good football coach?
I still am trying to learn every single day and grow every single day. I think whenever I got to work with Coach Dorrell up front, whenever I took over the tight ends, I really started to broaden my horizon as a coach, because that's whenever I really dove into run game and everything else. And I think that really helped my growing as a young coach and just helped me understand all 11 versus just wide receivers. And, so that helped a lot whenever I started to make that transition, and working with special teams through ACU also helped. And so I've gained a lot of knowledge through that. Nowhere near where I want to be. Obviously, I want to continue to grow every single day. But I feel like I'm on the right path to still becoming a good and greater coach.
So how did you first I guess how did you first meet Coach Dorrell, and what was that process like of joining his staff at Abilene Christian?
Yeah, so kind of a funny story. The guy that recruited me to Hastings College actually was a GA for Coach Dorrell for 7 years. And that guy that recruited me left after my freshman year at Hastings, and I'd always stayed in touch with him. JB Brown, he was the linebackers coach at ACU. And when Coach Dorrell got hired, sure enough, they were looking for a guy from Central Texas that had worked with wide receivers. And at the time, I was finishing up my coaching career at Hastings and looking for something else. And when Coach Dorrell got hired at ACU, JB called me. It was like, hey, I know this is wild, but I'm taking a job here at ACU, and we're looking for a guy that knows wide receiver stuff, that's young, and is from Central Texas. Are you interested in the job? And I was like, heck yeah. And sure enough, I interviewed with Coach Dorrell. He gave me the opportunity to come down there and work as the assistant wide receivers coach. And after that, that's a wrap.
So what has it been like to learn from a guy like Coach Dorrell, who has won national championships, has had a lot of success? What has that been like, being able to learn under him?
You can't even really put it into words how phenomenal it's been to learn from him. And just, you look at the guys that he's, through his career that he's worked with, and who he's, mentored as a young coach and everything else. And, the biggest thing for me is he teaches us more than just being a football coach. He teaches us how to be a good young man, how to, handle budgets, how to handle administration, through all that standpoint. And so, the wealth of knowledge that I've gained from him, not only just in football, but, all the administrative things that come with it and how to handle certain situations. He's extremely transparent with us on that stuff, because he wants us to go out at one day and be head coaches. And so just the amount of things I've learned from him is phenomenal. And it's, I'm very fortunate. And, you can't talk about a better guy to learn from, a guy that's, at his time at Northwest, of his 6 years of being a head coach, he won 3 national titles. It's a very impressive record.
So your time at Abilene Christian comes to an end. So then talk about how you then went from there to then following Coach Dorrell here now at UCO.
Yeah, whenever everything finished up there at ACU, we were obviously looking for jobs, and Coach Dorrell called me and was like, hey, listen, there's this opportunity that could present itself here in the next couple of days. Whenever he was waiting to find out to be the head coach, and he called me and asked if I wanted to go with him if it happened. And I still believe in Coach Dorrell and everything that he preaches, and our core values are selfless, tough, and discipline, and I believe in that. And one thing that I think really helped that decision and me wanting to come join him here at UCO is, not only is he a great football coach, he's won a ton of football games, he's also a great man, and so the quality of life, he's family oriented. Whenever something goes wrong in your family and you need to up and leave, he's 100% supportive. And, I think that really helped persuade me wanting to come with Coach Dorrell and come work for him as well, because of just how much, one, I care for Coach Dorrell, but also I know what he believes, what he's going to preach, and those are things that I believe in myself. And so kind of led to the transition, come to UCO, and I knew I'd get to work with the wide receivers again, which I love doing, which has been awesome. So I was ready to get here to UCO.
Okay, so you mentioned getting to work with the receiver. So you had your first spring now to kind of evaluate, get to know the guys. So what do you like about the group that you inherited?
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things about the group that I inherited was they were hungry to learn. That's one thing that they wanted. They wanted to learn, all this sort of drill work, why we do certain things. And that made it a lot of fun as a coach, because sometimes whenever you come in as a new coach, you can get a lot of backlash and everything else. And that wasn't the case. They were very accepting. It was a group that wanted to learn. They wanted to be pushed. They wanted to be held to a certain standard. And so I was able to implement a lot of those things. And, once I started working with them again and see the skill set, like we have good size in our room. We have good speed. We have guys that can catch the football and have big playability. And so that's what made it really exciting, was whenever I got in there, I didn't feel like it was a talentless room. It was a room that had talent that just needed to be refined. And, they're starting to show out, and I'm super excited for this fall and what they can do.
And looking at it there, I think there's a few upperclassmen, but there's only one senior, and that is Johnny Bazel the fourth. He came on here a while back, and he mentioned about how he needed to step up as a leader. Have you seen that from him so far? And if you have, is he progressing as you would like from that standpoint?
Yeah, he's for one, Johnny's done a great job. He's been a leader of our room. My biggest challenge with him was to be vocal as we've kept going through the spring. And, there are certain guys within the program we wanted to see that from, that we knew could be leaders. And he was one of them. And he did a really good job this spring of upholding our standards, but also preaching what we want to get done. And he's done a good job of continuing to do that. He's bought into the offense. He's learned the playbook inside and out from what we've installed so far. And he's been able to play multiple positions. So I've been extremely pleased with the way he's progressing. And I think he's going to progress into having a really good senior campaign. And I'm super excited for him and his future. But he is doing everything we have asked of him, and he's starting to bring others along with him, which is great.
And you're also the special teams coordinator. So what did you learn about that group in the spring as well?
Yeah, one of the things about us on special teams is, I believe in the KISS method. It's to keep it simple, stupid. Keep the schemes easy, let the kids play fast. And, one thing that I was super excited about was, last year, if you go look at what it was on special teams and the things that happened, it wasn't a great showing. And a lot of that comes from buy-in on special teams. And after going through the spring, we have a full group of guys on the team that are bought into wanting to be successful on special teams. And that's one thing that I saw this spring, was just the amount of effort guys were giving in special teams units, in their drill work when we were working special teams drill work. And that was exciting and encouraging to see, because of how much it meant to them and how they want to be good on special teams and can be good.
When Johnny came on, I had to ask him. There was a play last season, I don't know if you've seen the clip yet, against Fort Hays, where he fielded a punt or surrounded by 4 defenders. Now, as a special teams coordinator, I could ask, is that something that you recommend, or is that something where it comes to the sideline and you tell him you might not want to do that again?
Yeah, those are one of those that you sit there and you hold your breath while it happens. You're wondering why he doesn't fair catch it. And you just hope that you get the ball back at the end of the day. And then we have some kind words on the sideline, like, let's not do that again. No, we will not be encouraging catching it in traffic without throwing it the fair catch or anything like that.
Oh, good. Because that scared me some last year when he was doing that. It's like, Johnny, we got to pick our battles. Okay, so you also signed a very impressive wide receiver class. I felt like for the short amount of time you all had You came away with some really good prospects there. You got Madison Ridgeway from the JUCO ranks. You've got Jalen Reed from Ardmore, Kavion Williams from Westmore, and I believe you got Ben Harmon out of Cashin. What do you like about that group of receivers that you signed?
Yeah, one thing that I think whenever you look at that group of receivers that we signed is all of them have really big playability and have a huge upside. Madison has great size. He can run. He has strong hands. He has a high football IQ. And then you go look at Jalen, he has great size. He has good hands. You're talking about an all-state track runner who also has, he has big playability. And the nice thing about him is, and Kevion is their raw talents. You can mold them into what you want them to be. Kevion Williams, obviously one of the fastest kids in the state. I think he proved that at the state track meet. You get him the football, there's a chance for him to go all the way. And so with those three, we're super excited. Ben played quarterback in high school, and he's transitioning over to wide receiver, and he has a huge upside. He's a guy that you can start fresh with and mold into what you want him to be. But the beautiful thing about all those guys is you just want to get them the ball in their hands, because if you do, they can make something special happen. And so we're super excited about those guys. Madison's came in this spring and made a great impact. And then these young pups have an opportunity to come in and make a splash right away.
Now with Ben, you mentioned he was a quarterback. So what was it about what you saw from him that led you to believe that he'll become a good receiver?
One thing that you can't ever put a price tag on is competing. And that kid competes, and that's something that I love, and that's something that to me really stood out. And he did a lot of things that showed the athletic ability that he has the potential to play wide receiver at the next level. And so I was excited about him because he comes from a great program, and he showed that he can compete. And for him, obviously there's going to be that transition, which is perfectly fine, because you're taking someone who's very raw and you can make them what you want them to be. And so that's why I'm excited for Ben.
Talking to your tight end coach, Coach Dimitri Donald the other day, he mentioned about how he looks for athletes first. But like, what other traits do you value when you're looking at a potential receiver prospect?
Yeah, just looking at certain things, the number one thing that sticks out to me is, does the kid want to compete? There's a saying, if a dog don't bite early, he won't bite later in life. And so whenever I'm recruiting a guy, I want to see him compete first and foremost, and then after that, whenever you start talking about wide receivers, you start going, does this kid have good body size? Does he have speed? Can he run the route tree? And, one thing that's big to me whenever I'm watching kids is, do they catch with their hands? Whenever you get in the college ranks and that ball's coming quicker, you can't body catch things. And so, I start to look at those things, hey, can this kid, be a great athlete? But not only that, does he compete? Does he catch with his hands? Can he run a route tree? All those things are extremely important when evaluating.
Now, you brought up the importance of catching with your hands and not the body. I feel like some people might not know there's a difference. So what is the bigger difference and why you want guys that catch with their hands as opposed to with their body?
Yeah, so whenever you're catching something with the body, it's like throwing a basketball against a backboard. If you're running a curl and you're trying to catch it with your body, well, you're literally sprinting and having that ball hit you in the chest, what's running in the opposite direction of where the ball is going, versus where whenever you're catching with your hands and you're using your fingertips to make the catch, you're making that cushioned area. Not only that, but you're preventing DBs from being able to, follow you on the back half and get their hand in there. You can keep the ball away from them. And so it's just overly important to catch the football with your hands. You become a bigger target whenever you're able to catch with your hands, and you become more reliable whenever you catch with your hands.
And then in the run game, especially sealing the edge, blocking is important, and you have a really good one out there, and Johnny Barzell fourth. I was really impressed by the blocking I saw from him last year. The first time I really noticed it. But how important is it for you to not only have receivers that can catch, but are willing blockers and are good at it?
Yeah, it's to be honest with you, it's one of the most important things we have in our room. What we do offensively, wide receivers have to block. It's just point blank and simple. And if you aren't able to, you just can't play within our offense. And so for me, it's extremely important. And a lot of times when it comes to blocking, all it is a want to. At the end of the day, we could work 1,000 different drills, but if you don't want to block, you won't ever block. And so for me, when it comes to blocking, that shows me how much you have love for not only yourself and pride in how you do things, but also for your teammates. And so blocking is extremely important to me. It's one of the top things that we talk about, and it's all I want to. And so having guys that can block and buy into blocking is extremely important. Our guys did a really, really good job this spring of doing that.
And you're also now co-offensive coordinator. I believe this is the first time in your career now you're at the title of offensive coordinator in some capacity. What has that adjustment period been like for you, going from strictly a position coach to now also being part coordinator?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is just the leadership aspect that comes with it. As the position coach, you're really just worried about your position and, answering to, the coordinator. And now from that standpoint of getting to co-OC it with Coach Lechtenberg, there's a main leadership role that comes with that, and organizing and making sure on the offensive side of the ball, we're executing and doing things that we need to do to make sure we're efficient.
And how has that gone so far with the two of you? Has that been kind of a smooth relationship to this point? Is it how is that going?
It's been phenomenal. It's gone great. I've loved getting to work with Coach Lechtenberg and seeing it with him. We are overly communicating. We see eye to eye on a ton of things, and if we don't, we sit down and we talk about it, and we come up with a conclusion that's best for our team. And it's been great to work with him. I've learned a lot from him. It's been great because I've been able to help him transition, because he got in here a little bit later than I. And so I was able to help him transition with getting to know people and everything else. And it's been a ton of fun. It's been a great spring, rolling into summer now. And it's been a ton of fun. We see eye to eye on almost everything, and it's been great.
Okay. So what would you say, I guess, was the biggest takeaway from both your receiver unit and the offense as a whole from the time you had this spring with them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that, I took away from it was we have a group of guys that are willing to do the things that not a lot of people are willing to do in the wide receiver room with a lot of the blocking scheme that we do within our offense. But not only that, we have a lot of guys in that room that can make the big play. Which was extremely encouraging as a position coach whenever you have guys that you feel like, hey, if we can just get them the ball, they can make something special happen. And then the biggest thing from an offensive perspective, walking away with spring, is I felt like, from the time we started spring to the time we finished, one, they got better, but not only that, they competed. And so whenever you have individuals that are willing to go out and compete, you can do something with it. And, in the past, I feel like, talking to guys offensively when we first got here, they didn't feel like that was the case. And now leaving out of spring, we got a group of guys that believe they can go out and be successful, which is extremely important. And that just comes from them competing day in and day out and building confidence to be a great unit.
And then on the flip side, what do you feel like you need to see the most improvement from heading into fall camp, into the season?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was, coming out of spring and going into summer, heading into fall camp, is we would have great days and then we would have lulls. And I think the biggest thing for us to work this summer is just consistency over a long period of time. And so that's one thing we've talked about as an offense is, having intensity will win you a game here or there, but having consistency will win you a championship. And so the biggest thing for us this summer is just consistently continue to be great day in and day out, going 1-0 every single day from that standpoint. And the guys have bought into that so far. We've had a great first week, and they're doing a really, really good job. And so that's the biggest thing for us heading into fall camp, is just making sure we are staying consistent in the things we do and the actions we do.
So I guess what is your goals for the offense as a unit this season and for your wide receiver unit as well?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. We're developing team goals coming up here in the next week, but at the end of the day, as a coach, the biggest things you want to see your guys go out and compete and play hard. And so those for me are the two that just stick out that I want for the position group and for the offense, because if you can do those two things and carry a lot of energy as well, you have the chance to be super successful. Obviously, we want to try and statistically be in the top 25 of every category that we can possibly be in, if not better, from that standpoint. But I think, heading into fall camp and the goals that we want to have is, we want to compete, we want to play hard, and we want to have a lot of energy. And if we can do those three things all together, I think we can be a very successful unit, and we can go make a splash really quick.
And you're wearing three different hats. So like, how do you kind of find that balance to where you're able to spend the necessary time with the special teams, with the receivers, and then with the offense as a whole?
Well, organization is the biggest thing, and not only that, I have great colleagues that I can rely on, and if there's ever a time where I get swamped or anything like that, I can go to them and ask for help. And we have a phenomenal staff with a bunch of great experience, not only, on the offensive side of the ball, but, on the defensive side of the ball, we have a bunch of guys that have special teams experience. And so, we can go bounce ideas off each other and everything else. And so I work with a great staff that is willing to help and understands that in order for us to be successful, we all have to do a great job. And so they've been phenomenal in helping me if I ever get overwhelmed or anything like that, which has been great.
And you mentioned bouncing off ideas. Coach Donald had touched on, I believe he said you all lived together when you were both at Abilene Christian, and there was a whiteboard in the house. So I have to ask, how many long nights was there? Like you put two coaches together and a clean whiteboard, and the sky's the limit. So like, how just talk about what that relationship is like, and how it developed into what it is now, where at least I got the vibe from him that you all are pretty close.
Yeah, that's my guy right there, Coach Donald. So getting to live with him at ACU, it was awesome because we were just bouncing ideas off each other left and right. Things he was teaching me, things I was getting to teach him, whether he was teaching me stuff that he was doing when he was a part of the option game, special team stuff I was doing. And so that whiteboard got a lot of use on a lot of days, which made it a ton of fun. And, he was working with the tight ends, and I had worked with the tight ends before within the offense. And so, we were able to help each other out, and he's worked with receivers. And so we've bounced ideas off each other, and it really helped build our relationship. And, there's a lot of trust between me and him. And, if we ever needed anything or anything like that, we'd be able to go to each other. And so, that relationship for us, he's a lifelong friend. He's a great colleague, and he does a hell of a job in recruiting. And, for me, that's been something that I've loved to learn from him too, is how he recruits, because he does a great job. And so it's been a great relationship. I actually still live with him right now here at UCO.
Now, is the whiteboard still there?
So the funny thing is we're like 2 minutes from campus now, and so whenever we need the whiteboard, we just go straight to campus. But it's still in the closet.
Still in the closet. So what that means is, so for now it will stay in the closet, but at some point it's probably going to be.
Oh yeah. When fall comes around, it will be out. It'll have its spot on the couch like it did at ACU.
That's great. That's great. Let's see. Well, Okay, so what has been the biggest challenge for you? Kind of having to. Well, you mentioned the time management, but like, has there ever been a time where you felt like you needed to spend more with either the receivers or the special teams, and trying to figure out the best way to do that without cutting out the rest of your other responsibilities?
Yeah, you always run into that. A great example is, the punt unit's the most important unit out of the special teams. And so one of the great things about Coach Dorrell is whenever you tell him you need something, and it's going to be extremely important to our football team, he's willing to work with you on it. And so, I've been able to go to him on certain days and be like, hey, listen, we need more time with this unit and maybe not so much time, doing X, Y, and Z. Just use individual work for an example. And he's been like, perfect, no problem, we'll get it done. And, as long as we're putting in work and not putting in time, there's two different things from that standpoint. But he's been extremely helpful in helping me be able to time manage that. And also, I just make sure I'm overly organized and I'm making sure, we're hitting everything we need to hit as a position unit, as a special teams unit, to make sure that we're being successful. And we don't do things if they aren't going to help us be successful. If it's going to be a waste of time or could potentially be a waste of time, we don't do it. Everything we do has a purpose, it has a meaning. And so we're only going to do things that are going to help us as a football team and help us be better. And so there's not a lot of wasted time is the best way to put it. And that just comes with being organized and doing the research into making sure, hey, this is going to help us in the long run.
Now, when Coach Sanders came on, I asked him, did he have any names to keep an eye out on? Now, you, from an offensive standpoint, receiver standpoint, special team standpoint, are there any players that you saw throughout the spring that maybe the fans should kind of keep an eye out on when fall camp and when the season starts?
Yeah, a couple that just, Madison Ridgeway and Johnny Bazell, Diego Richards, and, Javion Dangerfield. All those guys had a great spring. You look at Dante McGee, our tight end who's returning. I think he has the potential to be a really, really good football player from that standpoint. There's a bunch of D linemen that could get a lot of recognition as well. Robert Fuentes and Michael Slater, guys like that from that standpoint. But, I think we got a couple incoming guys as well that have an opportunity to make a splash really quick, whether it be on offense, defense, in the return game or anything like that. And so, we're excited for the group that we got coming back. There's, I could list 30 names right now of guys that I'm just watching this spring, Kobe Stevens in the back end, guys like that, just the things they were able to do this spring and just how they impressed us. And we're excited for what they do. And I think they got an opportunity to make something happen really fast here at UCO.
Now you mentioned Diego, and Diego was a guy. He's been unfortunately he's been injured most of his career because when he has played, he has been explosive. So what do you like most about Diego's game? Because he's smaller, but he's really fast, and I feel like you can do a lot of things with him. So what most do you like about Diego?
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the head. You can do a lot of things with him. He has great speed. He has elite speed at this level. He took a bubble this spring, 75 yards, and it was in the blink of an eye that it happened, and he wasn't getting caught. And so, one of the things, too, that I think it makes him a good football player and what I'm excited about him about is he has a want-to about himself. He wants to do things to be better. He wants to do things to help him or to help our football team. And so I think whenever you start to look at Diego and what he does good, I think, you can put it on speed, his catching ability, his football IQ. But I think the biggest thing is his want to. He wants to do things to be great, and he wants to do things to help our football team be successful.
And just looking at the unit as a whole, I mean, this is probably the fastest unit I've seen covering because you got Diego, you've got obviously Kavion coming in, you got Jalen coming in, but you also have Javion Dangerfield. If I recall his tape, he was getting to the top of the route before the ball was there, and I think you have another one. Was it Terrell Davis out of Choctaw that also he has some wheels to him? So like, how big is that? To have that much speed just all across the unit?
Oh, it's hard to put into words how special that is because literally you're never limited, and so if something happens to one, you got to, you're not just out of your speed. We got so many guys that have wheels, and that if you can just get them the football, they can take it the distance. And so that for an offense and as a coach, you feel very good about that because you're like, man, these guys can make something special happen. Even whenever there's not it's not a huge throw down the field. It's a simple bubble route, and Diego takes a 75. Those things as a coach, you look great whenever you throw a bubble route and it goes 75, but really you really didn't do a whole lot. That's where the kid just turned on the jets. So, those things, man, are just you can't put into words how important speed is and just having speed. And that's what we're excited about is we just have a plethora of it right now.
And then earlier you mentioned Madison was in for sprint. Watching his tape, he can do a lot of different things. I've seen him, go across the middle. I've seen him catch little bubbles. What about his versatility do you like? I guess about his game overall, do you like about him?
Yeah, he brings great size to the room, and he has extremely strong hands. He does a great job of catching the football. He'll be a matchup problem for a lot of people just because of his size and speed and his ability to catch the football. But one of the cool things after coming through this spring was, we asked him to do some things that he's never done before, and he did a great job with them. And so I'm super excited for Madison because I think he just brings a lot of versatility in a sense of you got a guy that has great speed, great size, and catch the football well. And so whenever you can put those three things on the field in one player, you got a chance for him to be pretty special. And I think he has the opportunity to do that.
Okay, I see. I guess my final football question would be now Johnny mentioned that the receiver unit as a whole went bowling. Now I have to ask who came out victorious in that.
Well, we broke it up into teams. And needless to say, my team didn't lose. So I can't remember who it was. I think it was like me, Johnny, Diego, Madison. Oh, and I want to say one other. I think Dangerfield may have been on our team too, but we swept the competition. It was bad. The other team needed help.
Oh, that's great. And then I guess follow up to that would be like, so how important is it when you go out and do outings like that? How big is it in terms of relationship building and not only for everybody to kind of get to know each other, but to kind of help cultivate those meaningful bonds?
Yeah, it's one of the most important things you can have. We can draw up 1,000 different concepts, 1,000 different things, but if you don't have guys that love each other or guys that love their coach and a coach that loves their guys, that you won't ever be successful. And so doing things like that, I think lets the players not only see me in a different light other than just coach, but it allows me to see them in a different light other than just the player, and get to hang out with them and get to see who they are and get to know them more in depth. And I'm always very honest. I had some family stuff come up whenever I first got here to UCO, and I was very upfront and honest with my guys about what was going on. And God, the amount of support I got from them and our football team was phenomenal. And I think it's important to have that because whenever you can have those relationships, not only between coach and player, but coaches to coaches, player to player, you're able to have a different feel of the game because you're playing not just for another guy, you're playing for someone that you truly love. And you want to do the best that you possibly can to not let them down. And so I think that's extremely important. And we'll start our team activities coming up this summer. I'm sure we got some kickball coming up and all sorts of stuff. So it'll be competitive, but it's great, man. I love to get to see those guys outside of, the office and outside of the practice field. And so those outings are extremely important, and we're going to do a lot of them, especially this summer, just to get to hang out and get to know each other better and, build that relationship we want to have on this football team.
Okay. Well, before I let you go, I do this with all the new guests to get to know your questions. So,
yeah,
your favorite sports team?
My favorite sports team is the Tennessee Titans. That's my go-to, man. I'm a Titans fan.
Okay. Now, is Malik Willis the future, or are you confident in Ryan Tannehill?
Can I deny that question? I'll tell you what. I'm excited for the competition that Malik's going to bring in that room for the Titans. I am. I think he's a great young football player who has a lot of talent. And however it spins, if he wins the job, great. If not, he's going to make Tannehill better. Because he'll push him. But I'm excited for what that's going to happen over in the Titans quarterback room.
And then can Traylon Burks replace AJ Brown? Because that was kind of a shocking trade there. And I'm like, that's a lot of pressure to put on this man.
I know it is, but I'll tell you this much. It's hard to say can he replace AJ Brown because AJ Brown's just such a special athlete. But whenever you watch him play receiver, he has the ability to come in and be a guy like AJ Brown does. He's a hell of an athlete. He's a hell of a wide receiver, and so my fingers are crossed. I hope so.
Okay. Your favorite activity outside of football?
Oh gosh, I'm a golfer. I like to go out and swing the clubs a little bit. I always go play with friends. We always make it a competition, and so I think doing that or getting to hang out with my wife, those are big things for me.
All right. Let's see here. Your favorite musical artist?
Musical artist. Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I got a couple, but if I was going on like the country side of things, I'd have to go like George Strait. If I was going on like rap, I'm old school Lil Wayne. That's those are my go-tos. Right out the jump. So
now it's funny you mentioned old school Lil Wayne. Now, so far people I talked to, you, Coach Donald, and your quarterback Stephon Brown in the old Lil Wayne camp. Now your running back Jace Gardner at first just said Lil Wayne in general. Then he tried to clean it up towards the end and say old Lil Wayne. Now I don't know if that's been had conversated yet, but I just want to put that out there that in your locker room so far it's 3-1 because I'm not counting Jason's old school because he tried to kind of clean that up at the last second.
So, yeah, we have to talk with Jay. Say, hey man, you got to put some respect on it. Old school Lil Wayne, man.
Let's see. Okay, your favorite TV show?
Oh gosh, if I had to put one, it'd probably be Entourage. I love that show.
Okay. Let's see. Your favorite food?
I'm a mac and cheese guy. I don't even know if it counts as food. It's more like a side, but I love mac and cheese.
Oh, let's see. Okay. Are you a gamer at all?
I am a gamer. I'll hop on the sticks a little bit. I play a little Call of Duty, some Madden, 2K every now and then, but Call of Duty and Madden are my top two.
Now, are you PlayStation, Xbox, or PC?
See, I'm like an old soul because I'm on Xbox. That's what they tell me. Everybody says I need to get updated, but man, I can't get rid of the Xbox. It's a classic.
Okay. Okay. Do you now when you played in terms of gear, were you a guy that was heavy in the gear, or were you kind of just plain? Just give me the gloves and I'll go out there and just put in work.
I was a give me the gloves, let me go to work type guy. And if I tried to lie on that, I'm sure I'd have a bunch of buddies call me and be like, hey, you're lying. You didn't care once about gear. So as long as I had a pair of cleats, I was good to go. That's all I needed. I didn't really care about the gear and all that other stuff. I just like to play ball.
I can't see. And did you have any pregame routines that you normally would do?
Other than listening to music, that was about it. I just hung out. I wasn't big in doing a bunch of pregame stuff. Now I had a pregame or a game day shirt. I still wear it to this day. It's an old shirt now, but I still wear that shirt. From that standpoint, that's a tradition for me. But other than that, I didn't have a bunch of pregame rituals or anything like that. I just listen to music, get my mind right, and then be ready to go play.
Oh, okay. I guess my final question would be to those who still might kind of be on the fence about coming out, giving you all a chance this year. What would you say to those people in terms of what they can kind of expect from the team if they were to come out and see them play this season?
Yeah, I think one thing or a couple things that you guys can expect to see just getting to know our team and as we've been working to them is I think you'll see a team that is playing hard, they're competing and has a lot of energy. We talk about being selfless, tough, and disciplined. Those three things fall into being selfless, tough, and disciplined. And so I think those are the things. Whenever you come out and watch us, you'll see a team that's playing very selfless football. See a team that's playing tough football, and see a team that's playing disciplined football.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking time this afternoon to come on and talk to me. You kind of scared me there yesterday when you sent me that message, and I'm like, wait a minute. I know to get the days mixed up, and I'm like, okay, I think this.
The days mesh together sometimes. I'll tell you that much. So, yesterday, I was like, I gotta go. It's almost 3:00. I got a meeting to be on.
Oh, see, when you said that, because I recorded three of these on Monday, so I'm like still kind of somewhat fried from that, and I'm like, okay, is it Wednesday or is it? So you had me scared for a moment. I'm like, oh, because.
Well, I apologize. I didn't mean to scare you, but man, those days are meshing together. I was like, holy heck, it's 3:00. I'm supposed to be on this call right now. Luckily, you got me straight.
Well, I do appreciate you coming on. You're more than welcome to come back, and I'm wishing you the best of luck this season. I really think we got really good pieces there on offense. I think last year there was injury wise and whatnot, but I'm just looking at what we have in the incoming freshmen that look really, really, really good. I really feel like we could be in for a pretty good season offensively.
Yeah, I hope so. I think, one thing we've had is old guys step up that have been here, and then we've brought in a bunch of good new talent, across the board and in all sorts of places. And we're excited for the guys that we got, and I think we have a chance to be special next year as long as we go out and take care of business.
Right. Well, like I said, Coach, I appreciate it, and I said any time you want to come on, you're more than welcome to.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and thank you for having me on, and thank you for everything you do, with the show and getting our brand out there in a positive light, man. We really appreciate you.
Oh, no problem, Coach. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, you have a good rest of your day, and we'll be sure to do this again.
All right, Coach. Thank you. You too.